Hello everyone. Before we start today's video, if you could all do me a solid and lightly tap the like button, perhaps share the video about and leave a comment. If you are not subscribed, subscribe as well. It would greatly help this channel. Thank you very much. Well, isn't this just fantastic? Captain's Log, Subdates 221216.4. On the 16th day of Moistmas, my whole crew gave to me a one-page book, a loo roll with Quran verses written on it, and an axe made of marshmallows. Now if I put this over a fire, does it become s'more deadly? This can only go well. I have a cat on my lap and she is trying to get my attention. Welcome everyone to the exhibition of stupid people. Today we're going to start with an article I saw tweeted out by your boy Pat, where he tweeted, "What? Didn't see that coming. Wah wah wah." Underneath is a New York Post article, and I thought it was old. Turns out, from December the 6th, 2022, everyone. This is going to be interesting. Pettersson, a law student and mother of 5, decided to ignore the advice of one of her daughters to get some alterations done. Now we all like our cosmetic surgery, nothing wrong with that. In the case of Anaya, she wanted to emulate Amber Luke, an Australian model. In the case of Amber Luke, she had her eyeballs tattooed a vivid blue, and for 3 weeks afterwards she went blind. Thankfully her sight, Amber Luke's, returned. In the case of Anaya Pettersson though, this might not be so, well, it won't be a happy end. Anaya Pettersson had said, "I was just going to get one eye tattoo at first because I thought if I go blind, at least I've got the other eye. I should have stuck with that. My daughter told me that I didn't want to do that, the tattoo, asking what if you go blind. She wasn't on board with it at all. Her daughter is 7 years old, and her daughter saw this." While wishing she had listened to her 7-year-old daughter, Anaya Pettersson was left hospitalized by the eyeball modification after a potential reaction to the ink, and now claims she is at risk for developing cataracts, being quoted as saying, "I don't have 20/20 vision anymore. From a distance, I can't see features on faces. If I didn't have my eyeballs tattooed, I wouldn't be having this problem. Even today I woke up with more floaters in my eyes, and that is dangerous." Much like Amber Luke, Anaya Pettersson is a bit of an addict to body modifications. She's had multiple tattoos done, but she's also had her tongue split. She has changed her visual appearance to look as alt as possible. One eye one colour, the other a different colour. It's quite something, I will admit. These procedures, the tattoos in the eyeballs, date back to July of 2020, and initially she'd had no complications. She then opted later on in the year, in December, to have her left eyeball tattooed as well. In August of 2021, that's when things got really bad, and she looked like she'd been hit in the face. Naturally, Anaya Pettersson shares all of this, her adventures, on social media, and has advice for her daughter, where she repeatedly, and I'll quote her, "I tell my daughter not to care about the opinions of someone else, because they're just ordinary people like you. You have positive comments and negative comments, but the negative comments always overshadow the positive ones." What makes Anaya's story different to that of Amber Luke's is, Amber Luke's artist went too deep into the eyeball, and that if the procedure is done correctly, you're not supposed to go blind at all. Usually parents warn their children repeatedly not to make the same mistakes they made. This is one of those times where we can be certain that 7-year-old daughter won't, but in the context and with hindsight, the mother really should have listened to her daughter instead of fueling this addiction to look like something else. Because this addiction, which is what it is, you can be an enthusiast, but you've now gone too far, is going to cost you your ability to see your daughter. There are certain lines many shouldn't cross, and as a parent, you should know better. So last week we spoke about Jennifer Lawrence, I think in This Week at Twitter, who made it seem as if, or was it in this? Oh geez, I've been so busy I've forgotten, my apologies. She's made it seem like she's the only female actor to ever exist ever, pioneering the action female role. Because males don't gravitate towards female action heroine leader type protagonists, Hollywood refused to take a punt with them, and that is totally the case. 100%. It's not like Sigourney Weaver led the way with Alien, Kate Beckinsale as Celine, Mila Jovovich in Resident Evil as whatever character she was it Alice? I think it was. Uma Thurman in Kill Bill. Angelina Jolie in Tomb Raider. There are many more. Of course there are. Turns out, Jennifer Lawrence is a moron. Well, courtesy of BuzzFeed News, a highly credible source like Wikipedia that I cite, thank you for reminding me, Jennifer Lawrence has spoken out to clarify her comments about women-led action movies. Thankfully, if you scroll past all the bump-free capping, they link to the Hollywood Reporter, where they state that Jennifer Lawrence clarified the remarks she made in a video interview with Viola Davis. She was quoted as saying, "That's certainly not what I meant to say at all. I know I'm not the only woman who has ever led an action film. What I meant to emphasize was how good it feels. And I meant that with Viola to blow past these old myths that you hear about the chatter that you would hear around that kind of thing. But it was my blunder and it came out wrong. I had nerves talking to a living legend." There is certainly a point about Viola Davis as an actress being a living legend. On top of winning an Academy Award for supporting actress, she also starred in a leading role in The Woman King, an alternative history film, alternative being bollocks. Revisionist, an alternative interpretation of the facts. Debunked massively, but you know what, sometimes we need a little fantasy in our lives. I can certainly understand, I'm sure many can, when you're in front of somebody you consider your superior or your peer, you get nervous. But Jennifer Lawrence has been at the top for a while. There is no way Jennifer Lawrence genuinely says things like that accidentally. Additionally, I would argue that there is no way that interview goes out without her approval as well. Again, Jennifer Lawrence was at the top. Maybe the X-Men movies didn't help, after the second one that is. But you are an Academy Award winner and you hold considerable sway. I firmly believe you intentionally said those remarks. And that's one of the very few times where I'll openly say, I take a side in something. But in the context of what you said, it was pure arrogance. That is what it was. To believe that Hollywood wouldn't put money in on something because boys might not be interested is a load of bollocks. We know for a fact guys will go and see it as long as you don't shove it down their throats, a point I made last time. And I firmly believe the only reason you've said anything now is because of the optics, because it turns out the internet is very much of the opinion you're an idiot. I'm starting to understand why you quit social media. Moving on from that, we're going to go to a tweet from Tim Pool. Okay, and which is a retweet of the New York Post. Oh, that's the second time today. I liked a high-value man's photo on a dating app. He rejected me because I'm fat. Bit harsh if he said that. We don't body shame on this channel. Or do we? I mean, I am reflection perfection after all, and you are all but the lowly, oikory, and plebeian people. To the article, I guess, we need our answers. A plus-sized mom claims she was harassed last month by a man on a dating app with self-proclaimed above-average looks and high values. It was so ridiculous that it was comical, Krista Brown told Kennedy News. Krista Brown downloaded the Christian dating app Plenty of Fish in November after being single for 3 years. She, however, was not prepared for the communications, which had been dubbed cringeworthy. She went on to recall how a cyberspace Casanova was kind of cute, despite his pathetic mustache, claiming that she swiped right, but did not message him. She says that the unidentified man reached out to her in a big way. He sent me a whole huge long paragraph asking why I think I'm worth dating him, and what do I bring to the equation. He had a very condescending tone. He was so absolutely ridiculous. Am I the only person that thinks that the tweet perhaps was misleading? At first I was offended, but as I read through it, the more ridiculous it got, and I just started shaking my head and laughing. I can't even believe there are people out there who actually think like this. Here is a picture of the message. It's quite a lot. He's above average in looks. Not all women are 10s, some have to be 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s. Should be enough for you to just disqualify yourself. I guess unless you're a virgin, which is very unlikely, even them pushing it, seeing as you are overweight, which tells me you lack self-discipline and motivation. No one wants to be big, chubby, fat. I know this seems like a mean message, but it's not. It's just reality and seems mean because people are so detached from that thing called reality. Sorry, why do women hold such high standards for men? You're hearting my profile along with other women who do tells me that. I'm not just pulling stuff out of my ass, yet don't allow men to have standards. Well, he's got a point about the standards part. The type of man that thinks like this is not the type of man you'd want in your life in the first place. You may have given him a pity-like, but the door was open. Sorry. I'm not taking his side though, because I think his comments were a bit harsh. He might want to go to confession since this is a Christian dating app. The article itself does mention that Krista Brown is a size 18. Now, I don't know anything about sizes. I am also not familiar with whether or not height would play a factor in determining whether or not a larger size would make you considered fat or not. I really don't. I just want to point out that the tweet is very misleading, and only with the full context can you get the scope scale of what actually happened. Since you're on a site called Plenty of Fish, I'm sure there's many more of those coming your way. And this article will certainly do your dating app and preferences, your profile, so much good. Because that's how the internet works, right? They're not dicks. No, the internet are renowned for being empaths, in the same sense that battery acid is a fantastic multivitamin, and a suitable blood transfusion liquid is whiskey. Now, the final thing I want to show is actually something that is merely an image. It is this. Rise in fascist graffiti has experts concerned about the steeled resolve of the far right. Apparently by Rachel Gilmore, posted on the 4th of December 2022 on Global News. Now, what intrigues me about this image is, I did little digging for it. It doesn't exist. It's not real. It was tweeted out by a few people, and I resisted the urge to tell them that it wasn't real, because when someone has a confirmation bias, they go looking for it. Well, I have confirmation skepticism, and I decided to go look for it because I'm a good skeptic clone. There is no article on this at all. What is the real giveaway about this isn't a Reuters article. No, it's the fact that Rachel Gilmore herself had to, under Dissident, say this is fake with a quote retweet of something else. If a year ago you told me that a member of a band I might have listened to during my teenage edgy phase would share a photoshopped fake article in my byline, I wouldn't have believed you. And yet here we are. Dissident, or Phil That Remains, had gone on to admit that they didn't care about it being fake. But I think it matters. I think it matters in the context of passing it off as a form of news coverage. You've got to be careful, because at no point did you indicate that you knew it was fake before, so it came across as genuine. Especially when your initial tweet said, weird way to spell fascist. That's, interesting.